girl of my dreams. I've seen old men drunk, singing the blues, with top hats and canes, spectator shoes. I consider myself lucky to have fallen in love with a girl, the city, and the river of mud.
Greetings, fellow investigators. Welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is entitled Crescent City Nights, and Kurt LeBlanc is our GM. This is episode 12, and I will be once again doing the recap as linguistics professor Leon Fontenot. So, without further ado, commencez notre voyage dans les ténèbres. It never fails to amaze me how some people are quite comfortable living in squalor. Massachusetts is a beautiful commonwealth filled with historical significance and patriotic pride. My God, the Pilgrims landed there, for goodness sake, and started the whole damn country. But pride is something these Whateleys lack. It was Sunday, the 12th of September, 1926. We spent a number of hours going through Mordecai's hotel room, finding nothing but those damn statues and a few receipts. We then proceeded to his car, where John Jerry smashed the passenger side windscreen to allow us access. Inside, we found a number of items which we decided to take to La Rose Noire, Miss Martinez's shop, for further examination. But before we left the car, I discovered another crumpled receipt, this time for Yolanda's pottery shop, the source of the abominable statuary. It was 5 statues purchased, not 4, as we had originally assumed. Though I am a man firmly rooted in detached objectivity, I cannot help but speculate along highly subjective and prejudicial lines. It would seem that old Whateley was carrying on the traditions of his family in the pursuit of black arts. 4 times he failed to attract the attention of his demon servant, but it may be the 5th time he was successful, only to discover, as so many other dark wizards before him have, that it is a supreme folly to bargain with the devil. From his vehicle we recovered 2 blasphemous tomes, and a painting more abominable than any other item so far. They had the faint odor of lilac, same as the receipt from the shadow stacks. The painting, how do I describe it? The whole thing had a seething quality of an opium-induced nightmare, like something from Hieronymus Bosch or Richard Pickman or Goya. In fact, its subject matter, with naked, twisted figures and masks engaged in fornication of every type, reminded me of a great deal of Goya's Madhouse. It took me quite the effort to look away, and I tried to protect the ladies from viewing such a monstrosity. The painting was entitled The Rapture of the Debase. The books were more what I expected: Witchcraft and the Occult, The Revelations of Haley, a modern reprinting of a high quality from Golden Goblin Press, a New York-based publisher. In my opinion, nothing special, but Miss Noble and Miss Martinez seemed very interested. The second tome was similar to the first, with a different title, Unspeakable Cults, or Unersprechlichen Kulten in German, by the same publisher. It was an edition produced in 1909 from a much older tome. It was multilingual with large portions in German. Being a linguist, I asked the others if I might borrow the tome and see what I could learn. It was ponderous, difficult to understand, quite disturbing. What I could make of it and parts of it pointed to answers to questions as yet unasked. Dark things. There was also a flask of an unusual size and shape. Miss Martinez discovered that it was a camera, obviously designed for covert photography. The logical conclusion was that it was made for Whately to take pictures, possibly of naked people, he was a pervert or a blackmailer or something like that. The last mystery that we managed to solve had to do with the dinner dark brews, the receipts that we'd found earlier. Remy was friends with a Mr. Santos Hernandez, who ran the establishment. He described Whately's previous visits, apparently having gained some capital from the sale of those old coins, and having spent a large portion on occult curios, he proceeded to flaunt his newfound wealth on the customers at the coffee shop. There was something else. Perhaps I'm being a suspicious man, but I am pretty sure I saw a rather strong reaction from Santos at the mention of the books and the painting. It may be nothing, but he also claims to have seen the footprints of a big cat. Something about that Spaniard seems a bit fishy. There was a large oaken door in the shop, heavily locked. I naturally assumed that it was Santos's apartments above the coffee shop. But right after speaking to us and looking rather nervous, Santos excused himself and passed through this door and locked it behind him. So here we sit, sipping our café au lait. It's our intention, on what is now Monday, September 13th, 1926, to investigate this Yolanda's pottery shop. I also think we might discuss some of these findings with either former Inspector Legrasse or Monsieur Laurent de Marigny. Surely they may shed some light on these discoveries of ours. Miss Rose suggests that we might find a local photographer and recover any photos taken by Whately. John Jerry should have no trouble doing that. I believe we are getting closer to some answers. If there is something dark and sinister going on here, I only hope we get to it before it gets to us.
Right. Professor, I will say that the more time that you spend in the Crescent City, your cadence and tone is such that would support a successful run at the state legislature.
It's the problem with being a linguist. Why, just a few months ago, you wouldn't have been able to tell me from any Bostoner.
Mm-hmm. And that's why they call me a lobbyist, Governor. All right, so here we are. You guys just finished your conversation with Santos Hernandez, and after that, he kind of turned the shop over to one of the other employees and headed into his, what you assume to be his private quarters.
So, Remy, how well do you know this Mr. Hernandez?
Only insofar as he's a local shopkeeper, not so different than myself, but we go back well enough that I have to say his behavior not too long ago was a bit strange, by my measure.
Is he a superstitious man, religious man?
I think all the Spaniards have a bit of the Catholicism to them, but I haven't known him to be much into the voodoo or anything of that nature.
It seemed like we touched on something that made him a bit nervous.
I couldn't agree more. It seems he excused himself rather hastily. Not that he couldn't have just been busy, but certainly something we said sparked some interest.
And it's a little surprising, and it makes you more curious because you would know this, Remy, and maybe Alicia, depending on how much you've been around, your parents' business. But Santos is really kind of a pillar of the business cluster of the French Quarter. He sponsors a lot of like cleanup projects. He has sometimes meetings with the local business owners in the coffee shop just to talk about like revitalizing. And even though he doesn't really pass judgment on your speakeasy business, he does kind of he does speak out about towing the balance between the immorality and vice of the French Quarter and wanting to support non-vice driven business. Not enough to rile up Trouble with the Dice Brothers or anything like that, but he is a little bit outspoken on wanting to have a sustainable and non-vice element of the French Quarter.
So it would be surprising then for him to be involved with something seedy or underbelly or occult. I mean, that would be out of character for him.
As far as you would know.
Right. Yeah. But of course, he would also be quite quite strongly opposed to anyone in the prostitution ring or in that manner. Let us keep an open mind as far as Mr. Santos goes. There have been, of course, many very religious fanatics who have murdered those who they thought overstepped their morality bounds. This is a city filled with sin, after all. Some that we all like to embrace. Oh, so shall we to Yolanda's pottery shop?
Seems like the next logical place.
This fine Monday.
Sounds good.
So Yolanda's Pottery Shop is in the 9th Ward. So on your way there, you could stop and drop off a kidney apiece and all your life savings to pay off Mother Santiago for the promises of restoration money that you negotiated with her. But yeah, so the 9th Ward then as now is a predominantly African American part of town. There's some Creoles that live there as well, and there is a little hanging sign at the address that you have on the receipt that says Yolanda's Pottery.
Does it look like a regular old pottery barn, or is it got a certain theme to it?
As you go in, or like
well, yeah, as we're
inside,
approaching it. And
it's a very humble shop. Yeah, it has. So what you can see actually looking through the front window is just pottery on shelves. Basically, it seems pretty small. You don't see anyone inside, but there are different like vases, flower pots.
Also statuary.
Yeah, there's some different types of just statues. There's some animals. It is very impressive pottery.
Okay. Do we by chance have one of the statues with us, or did we leave them at Alicia's place? Because I know we took some out of the room with us.
Yeah,
someone said bring one along.
We're going to head to my place.
Can we say that since we were going to Yolanda's, we're bringing one of the statues with us?
Sure.
To show her, help her identify it for us. I mean, just as we're getting there, I don't see any reason why not to say the gentleman who bought this was murdered, and we're just following leads. Unless you guys want to do something else.
I think that works.
Yeah, I guess the only concern would potentially be if she knew the purpose behind it, maybe she would hide it from us. But I mean, these are pretty unique statues, so she would probably know exactly who she made them for.
I'm
Well,
hoping.
considering the ones that we have are the ones that didn't work.
Right. Did he purchase all 5 at once, or yes. Okay, yeah.
And we're guessing that it's some sort of a fertility god.
So it's not like he bought one and found it didn't work, and then bought another one and found that one didn't work.
Right. All the receipt. It was one receipt with all 5 of them. So, anyways, we go inside.
Okay. As you go inside again, you all notice once again at the pottery that's on the shelves. It does look very impressive. You don't see anyone, but you do hear some quiet voices from kind of another room in the back.
Okay. Is there like a bell on the door?
No.
The jingles. Well,
I'm going to say loudly, "Oh, this would be perfect for Mother."
Oh, hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello? Yeah, come on back.
So we start going back there.
Okay. So you kind of walk past the counter where the cash register is, and just down a short hall, and there's actually a larger room that's open in the back, and there's a pottery wheel with there's a few pottery wheels with women at them, and Yolanda's clearly like giving. She's at the front, kind of clearly giving instruction. And she says, "Oh, hello. Are you here to shop today?"
Yeah, are you Miss Yolanda?
Yeah, I'm Miss Vega.
If you don't mind, we have a few questions to ask about some of your work.
Oh, well, just yeah, give me and she's kind of a very young, maybe mid-20s Creole woman, so kind of lightly dark complexion, and she gets up from the pottery wheel and says, "Just let me clean up, and I'll meet you back in front."
Please take your time.
Sure. So after a few minutes, she comes out, just kind of drying her hands. Just hello, how can and then her eyes go to whichever one of you are holding the statue, and you don't need a psychology roll to see she is surprised to see that. She says, "Oh, how can I help you?" And then she actually closes the door that goes into the back hall that you just came from.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were wondering if you could shed some light on this here statue.
Did you buy that from someone?
Mr. Mordecai Whately. You familiar with him?
I did some commissions for him.
5 of them, in fact. This is one of them.
Yeah. Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about this statue? It seems like some sort of fertility idol.
Well, if you, it was a private commission. That is, it's not something that I'm excited to discuss. That's private business. Maybe I can interest you on something I have on the shelves here.
Oh, well, we may very well be there. Where Mr. Whately has recently passed away. I'm sorry to say.
Passed away?
Yes, and we are trying to put together some of the events that took place shortly before his accident.
No, I didn't have nothing to do with nobody passing away.
No, we didn't say that you did. We're simply asking you
just
about
run a pottery shop.
Just asking you about the statue.
I'm not trying to get mixed up in nothing. I got nothing to say about it.
Can I try to persuade her?
Sure. Who are all of you? You all friends of Mr. Whately?
My name is Remy Pascal. It's a pleasure to meet you, ma'am. I actually run a small business of my own over here in the French Quarter.
He's an acquaintance of all of us.
These are some of my friends, Miss Noble and Alicia Martinez, and of course the fine detective John Jerry Sanderson, who's naturally leading this investigation. We just happen to be associates of his that assist in the investigative process, if you will.
I don't want to get involved with the police. I don't want to get
No,
involved
don't
with
worry,
the police.
man. Don't worry. John Jerry, pleasure to meet you.
Nobody died.
I got a 24 out of 40 on my persuade.
So once you mentioned John Jerry and she gets real nervous at this point. She says, "Well, what do you want to know? I'm not involved in this, whatever this is."
You said these were commissioned. Did explain that to us? Did Mr. Whately ask you to create these for him?
Yes. I saw Mr. Whately 3 times. Once he came in this shop asking for me. I went to I studied fine art at Newcomb. I got a master of fine arts. I'm not trying to get mixed up in no kind of criminal activity.
You can tell your art is quite beautiful. Your sculpture is beautiful.
But Newcomb does have a fine program. It's right next to Tulane.
I'm Professor at Tulane.
Oh, for real?
For real.
Well, quite crew you brought with you, Detective. I saw Mr. Whately 3 times. The first time he came in here looking for a potter who could make reproductions from photographs. And I told him that I could. And then he showed me some photographs, and I told him that it would take some time, and he asked if he paid extra. He said that he would need them fast, and he asked if I could rush the order if he paid extra, and I told him I could. And the second time is when he came in with the photos, more photos, to make a deposit, and then the third time is when he came in to pick up the 5 statues.
And did he by chance leave the photos with you?
Hold on. And she walks back, goes back into the back, and comes out a few minutes later and gives you some photos.
Oh. So we look at the photos, I assume.
All right. So if you guys pass around the photos, what you see is they're really, really grainy. Putting 2 together, thinking that you know about how these photos, what these photos were taken on with that camera flask. What you actually see is photos, really grainy photos of a statue that looks like just like the ones that were made, taken at all kinds of weird angles. So it looks to be like sitting up on the top shelf of a bookcase. And so you got one that's like kind of angled up at the top of the bookcase, and then from over here looking up, and from over here. And so just, about 7 photos that are taken at different lengths and from different, all bad angles of what appears to be that statue.
Now, in the pictures, do the bookcases look like they're in a shop, or do they look like they're in a private home?
It's hard to tell because the angle is so limited. You see like that, like the tops of books, and then a shelf, and then the statue from different angles.
Can we tell any of the book titles?
No, it's not that clear.
Blurry.
Or yeah, it's not that clear, and there's not enough shots of the books itself. But there's enough to tell that you seem to be looking at the top of a bookcase.
And the material these are made from, just common clay?
They're ceramic with a fine glaze, and then I aged them.
You aged them. Did he have any specific instructions other than having
only that they were to look as close as possible to the figure in these photographs,
to what he showed you,
and again that he needed them done fast. He seemed real excited. I tried to ask some other questions because it all seemed kind of mysterious, but he said he was paying for statues, not for questions. When he picked up the statues, he gave me the rest of the payment, and that's almost more than I make in a whole year.
So did he didn't give you any indication as to what this figurine was? He just wanted you to keep quiet?
He was just looking for somebody to make the figurines. Yeah, like I said, I tried to. It did spark my curiosity, and I was curious of what the statues were for. But and again, he said that he was paying well and was not looking for questions. The only other question he had was when he picked up the statues, if I knew the name of a good pawn shop, and so I don't know, was he gonna pawn the statues? Did you find this one at a pawn shop?
No, actually, we found it in his apartment, along with the others. In any case, my friends, do we have any other questions? I don't believe so.
Yeah, I have a question. You seem a bit nervous. Did anybody else come around asking questions about this?
No, you're the first ones. But if I'm nervous, it's because I'm not used to having dead customers and the police in my shop.
I understand. Just trying to make sure nobody's like threatening you.
There's no need to worry. Yeah.
Oh, Miss Vega, just one final quick question. He asked about a pawn shop. Did you point him in a specific direction?
Well, I told him about McAndrew's place over in Algiers Point, the Philosopher's Stone.
Oh, perfect. It's very much appreciated. And of course, we appreciate your time and your forthcoming honesty.
Oh, okay then.
You know what? Since we spent some time here and she answered our questions, I will pick up a small, clay pot or something nice to set around the shop or something. Maybe like some incense burners or something.
Oh, okay. That's I made that one special.
Miss Martinez has her own shop. She can start funneling some people over to you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'll pick this up. I'll put it on display on my counter. If somebody asks, I'll point them your direction.
Okay, that'll be $3.
I'll give her the $3.
You know what? I'll pick up something before we leave too, just so she doesn't feel too bad about a policeman here, a detective here too. So.
Oh, you all are very generous.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Just know that you can trust us anytime. Anytime you need anything.
And I tell her where my shop is, and I say, anytime you want to, come down or if business is slow, you can go out to lunch or something like that. It's a good, nice little coffee shop up the road. So, yeah, feel free to stop by.
Okay.
And I hold out my hand for her to shake.
And she'll hesitantly shake your hand and say, "Ladies, we do pottery classes every weekday."
Okay, I might swing by for that.
We are getting a loud fan sound
From me. Yep.
Is it from you? Sorry. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. So yeah, I don't think she knows anything. I think she just was commissioned to make these things for. But we know two new things. Somewhere there is a shop or there is a private library with this statue. Someplace where he took covert pictures of it with his flask. We also can guess that he commissioned these statues before he went to the pawn shop. And that's where he got his money.
Yeah, it would appear to make sense to continue to follow the trail. Was it McCarran's pawn shop?
The Philosopher's Stone. Isn't that's where the receipt was from?
I believe that's correct.
We should have gotten dates from Miss Yolanda, but
That's fine.
she told us he came in 3 times. All right.
Certainly appears it all happened in very short order.
Yeah.
But it would seem that Mr. Whately came here and commissioned these before he had the money.
Certainly possible.
You also know he spent a lot of money at the Shadow Stacks.
Well, you did say he was wealthy, right? He comes from a wealthy family, so money.
No, I didn't say that. The Whateleys aren't necessarily wealthy, but maybe. He certainly had gold coins worth $700.
He dropped a lot of money at the restaurant too, didn't he? That one.
That was afterwards. That was after he had the $700 in his pocket.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just fishing for participants.
In his evil, occult, satanic rituals, possibly. I keep thinking that the prostitutes were the ones that he was going to use, and that somehow Satan appeared and said, "What the hell are you doing calling me out of my darkness?" and just killed them all. I'm just being silly at this point, but something's going on here. I want to get a look at these coins. Because what kind of coins are worth $700? What kind of pawn?
Not kidding.
What kind of pawn shop knows what coins are worth $700? I could see a master collector What do they call us? Coin collector?
Yeah,
Numismatist?
$700.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Okay. Philatelist is a stamp collector. I think so. Okay.
Either that or I just said something dirty. I don't know.
Somebody who collects porn.
You never know.
I think you're right, though. You might be right. So can we head over to the pawn shop? That's across the river, isn't it? We're going to have to cross the Mississippi.
Yep. You could take the ferry boat, which lets you off at Algiers Point.
That's exactly where we want to go. That's Algiers Point.
And you'll find the shop open. Ding. Hey, how you doing?
Doing really well. Say, a friend of ours came in here a while back with some rare coins. You still have those coins?
I don't know nothing about no coins.
You don't know nothing about no coins, huh?
You shopping for coins? And then he shows you like part of the display case that's got, you know, kind of like there's some display case with some Confederate money and some different coins that are in like those capsules, coin capsules. We got all kinds of collectors running through.
Well, these were 5 rare coins for which you paid, I believe, $700.
About to assume that this is a visit from the police.
No, not at all. These are not illegal coins or...
Well, what kind of business you trying to do? Just come in here and start questioning me in my own establishment.
I'm a collector, so my friend and colleague Mordecai Waitley says that he left the coins here. I would like to see them and assess their value.
All the coins that we currently have in stock are what you see over here in the display case over in the coin department of the shop.
You
Which
mean
is just
right here?
right next to the jewelry department, which is conveniently located right here.
And none of these here are those coins. I don't see anything in here worth $1,000.
Well, that'd be some serious scratch. I don't know any shops that keep that kind of cash on hand, even at prestigious establishments such as this one.
Okay. Do I have to do a psychology roll to know if he's lying? Because I think he's lying.
Well, I was going to come up and try to actually stand beside you as well and kind of say to the guy, you better tell us the truth for your own good.
Well, consider how you rolled in.
All together?
I know I'm going to try and intimidate with you as well as you're working on him for the truth. So,
and he's just kind of like looking at this. What are the rest of you guys doing? You guys just all come and stand in a line?
I'm looking at jewelry.
Yeah, I'm looking around as well. While they're
They're all
talking,
looking
I'm
like
actually
they're
look for the coins or look for something else that might be suspicious.
Good morning, ladies.
Sir,
Oh,
it's a fine shop you have.
Yeah, please call me Duncan.
what does Duncan look like?
Kind of like he sounds.
Like, I was just going to say that. He looks like a Duncan.
He's no Etienne Laurent de Marigny or Santos Hernandez. We'll say that.
Oh, okay. When I hear Duncan, I think of Duncan McLeod.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
Yeah, he looks like a guy that would be working at a pawn shop.
Oh, okay.
he's a potato person.
Well, I'll be nice.
What kind of jewelry you looking for? Maybe a wedding band or for your fiance?
Oh, no.
A wedding band.
Something that would look good under stage lights.
Stage lights. You some kind of performer?
Why, yes, sir, I am. Perhaps you've heard of me? Rose Noble, sir.
Do tell. I've not heard of you, Miss Noble, but I'm happy that I do now.
Yes.
And you Miss, who's your lady companion?
Martinez. Alicia.
Martinez, how exotic.
So is there anything? So like I'll smile and do a little flirting or whatever. But I'm looking at the jewelry case and the coin case. Do I see anything like that? Anything that we're looking for? Anything that might be out of place in a pawn shop like this?
Now the place is really cluttered. It's not very nice. There's just like kind of stuff all over. You see, there's just obviously a long jewelry case. There are some coins in there, but nothing. I mean, if they had coins that valuable, you don't know if they'd be on display anyway.
Yeah, I would imagine
stuff like tools. Like there's some like mink coats in there, and just a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Anything looks like it might have been made of coins?
Guns.
Any books? Any old books?
Nah, not really. Books aren't really pawn worthy, probably. There's some guns. What are you doing, Remy?
Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to sit back and take it in. It sounds like the professor is trying to work him in one angle. John Jerry's trying to intimidate him, and the girls are trying to flirt with him. So I think there's enough persuasion going on. I'll kind of sit in the background, and unless he addresses me specifically, I'm just going to kind of hang out.
Yeah. Well, what you observe then is kind of Leon rolling in hot. This guy seems like he doesn't want to jump into just answering questions, and so divert his attention.
Oh, you've broken up. We didn't hear any of that.
How's that? Okay. Any better?
Now you sound good. Yeah.
Okay. So you see Leon rolling hot, start asking questions. This guy clearly not just want to jump into answering question mode, and taking the opportunity to divert his attention to Leon and John Jerry, who hasn't said anything yet, to the two ladies at the jewelry counter.
Okay.
I pull out the receipt, and I say, according to this, you're not supposed to sell those until the 21st. I do have the ticket. And I see the coins.
What you got there?
So I give him the receipt.
He takes a look at it and says, I ain't never seen this before, detective.
What do you mean you ain't never seen this before? It's got your name on it.
That's not my signature. This looks like an impressive forgery, but a counterfeit nonetheless.
Well, what did you call me? I'm not an officer. I'm a professor.
I'm going to speak up and say, hey, we could either discuss this here, or if you want, you can close down shop. You can come down to the station, and we can continue the talk there. So, I suggest you start speaking the truth here. So, I'll give you one last chance with my associate here. We're being, forthcoming, easy to talk to. So, give you one last chance.
Try and back that up with an intimidate roll.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Sorry. Okay, let's see. Oh, wow. Actually, 19 out of a 40.
All right. So he thinks for a second and says, all right, let me take a look at that paper again. He looks at it, he says, yeah, maybe this was me. Maybe that is my signature. It's for the Yankee, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we ain't got those coins no more. This guy came in with whole bag of gold, like he found it at the end of the rainbow or something. $700 worth.
A bag of gold.
Yeah, real gold. Not the kind of shit that normally tries to get passed off in shops like these.
Do you have any of this gold still?
Nah, I told him how long we would hold it for, and he said, "Don't bother. He wouldn't be coming back." He said he had to.
This gentleman bought all 5 of those coins. Could you tell us at least what the coins looked like?
Well, they were real strange. They were definitely made of gold, but ain't no kind of designs on them like I ever seen before. At first, we thought they was colonial, but upon further inspection, they seemed to be from some country that our experts could identify.
What size were they? How big were they? Big coins?
They were different sizes, irregular like.
That's a shame.
Anything unusual about this gentleman?
Yeah, he had a bag of gold.
Well, certainly, but
Could you
anything?
describe it for us?
Yeah, absolutely.
He had dark hair. He had a thick Yankee accent. Said he had a date with a special girl.
I see. And that date was that evening.
Well, I don't know.
Understood.
Did he sign his name on any receipt or anything like that? I would really like to find him.
We try to keep a lot of the business like this of this magnitude discreet, if you know what I mean.
I understand.
Did he purchase anything else while he was here, or ask for any specific directions? Maybe a place to go, a recommendation around town, anything like that?
Nah, he just seemed like he was hot to get rid of this gold. Maybe I go in theory is perhaps it was stolen from wherever he comes from up north. Got on the road far enough to get away from wherever it is he's from, and then get rid of the merchandise, if you know what I mean.
What?
But everything we do here is on the up and up. This was perfectly legal. I do feel the need to say here, detectives.
Was it? This receipt says that you should be holding this until the 21st. You shouldn't be selling man's property.
Right, he said that he made it clear that he wouldn't be coming back.
Guess what if he came back?
All right. Well,
he clearly he didn't.
I look around at everybody else. I don't see that there's anything else we can do here. Except maybe one more question, if you don't mind asking. Nobody's in trouble here. What made you pay $700 for these 5 coins? How did you assess them?
The owners and the owners' friends had a chance to inspect the coins. He melted them down. Work with a jeweler, melt them down, turn it around to a whole lot more jewelry.
And that they assessed that it would be at least $500 or $700 worth of gold, huh?
Once they melted it down, gold plate some jewelry, spread it all around the city. They'll make a whole lot more than that back.
Well, I think you've probably done very well for yourself, because our suspicions were that Mr. Whately was pulling the wool over your eyes. I was hoping to get a good look at the coins, decide whether I thought they were real or not, but I thought it was highly unlikely. In any case, thank you for your work. Thank you for at least explaining some of that to us, and we will be on our way.
One more thing, though, Mr. Duncan.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been to the Shadow Stacks?
The what?
The Shadow Stacks.
The shadow sticks.
Stacks, dear.
Stacks. No, I don't know what that is.
Oh, my mistake.
Is that
My
maybe
mistake.
maybe where you work in the evenings?
No.
Perhaps you
It's
like
something
to
I heard on the street. I thought you might know. But thank you anyway.
It sounds enticing. If you find out, let me know.
Oh, I will. I surely will. Ta.
Ciao.
Right. So, Miss Rose, you gave me an interesting idea. You are a collector of fine books. You have an interest.
Very much so.
What if you were to go to some of the local bookshops and ask about some of these rare books that you are trying to find? At which point, because I keep wondering how this Shadow Stacks finds out, since they have to call you. You get where I'm going? If you start putting the word out that you're looking for certain books, once one of them hears, they might contact you.
Well, I just threw out one handy fishing line. I don't see why I couldn't throw out another.
Well, maybe. I'm not sure that a pawn shop has anything to do with books at all. But
They deal with people desperate to get money and to get rid of money.
yeah, people who have the books that you were looking for have money. Lots of it. But it's just a suggestion, a way to attract. We need to attract their attention.
I agree, we do.
If we hit all the bookstores and we put out some inquiries, somebody's bound to pick. We're going fishing, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir, I do.
Where do we go from here? We're at the pawn shop. We finished with the pawn shop. Somebody collected those coins and paid for it with gold. That's strange. Strange. Maybe another Waitley.
What additional leads do we have at this point? Certainly the photographer is still.
We could we could check with local photographers. I don't know how many there are. Try to go.
I can go with Rose to look for the books.
And there's always the opportunity to reconvene with Inspector LaGrasse. Not sure what.
And you've got the photos. Like Yolanda gave you the photos.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. We assume the photos that we have were taken with the camera covertly. So we're not looking for porn anymore.
No, we are looking for a bookshelf with something on it.
Right. So we don't.
I can't help but wonder if that was the Shadow Stacks.
Right. And that would make sense that he got access and then.
What was the date on the Shadow Stacks receipt? Was it earlier than the other ones or
I
later?
don't think there was one.
Okay.
It was, and it didn't have an address either.
Okay. Well, wait, wouldn't have had to be after because he had the coins after.
He had to buy them. Yeah, he had to buy it. So we've got a bit of a rudimentary sort of. He came into town. He commissioned the statues. He came into town. He used his camera to take some pictures. He saw what he wanted. He got the commission lady, the pottery lady, to create them. He then took the 5 coins to the pawn shop and sold them. And with the money, he purchased the 2 books and the painting and spread it around a little at the coffee shop. He then went and somehow ended up with a prostitute and was killed. Does that make sense so far? He came into town. He went to the Viridian and got a room first. He had some money because he traveled across the country to get here.
So we're missing the individual who purchased the coins with the gold. The
coins that you're referring to was the gold.
Oh.
There were gold coins. Coins that were made out of solid gold.
There were 5 solid gold coins that were purchased by a man with dark hair with gold. Is that what you told us?
They were the ones that weren't the coins sold to the pawn shop?
No,
Or
Watley.
the $700?
Watley had the coins.
Watley had the coins. He took them to the pawn shop and he got $700 for them. And then the pawn guy just told us that somebody came in and purchased the coins with gold. That's what we thought you were saying.
Oh yeah, I missed that.
So where are the coins? I thought he said that somebody bought them.
No, didn't you say he melted them down?
Okay, we've somehow
The person he said came in with the bag of gold was Watley. That was the gold coins. That they bought the gold coins.
His managers melted them down, right? That's how they were able to find out the actual worth of the coins.
Right.
So the coins are no longer in existence.
Oh, so they melted the coins. That's why the coins are no longer around, not because somebody else bought them.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I misunderstood that
Right.
too.
I did.
Yeah.
I did too. I thought there was somebody else who came in and snatched up the coins.
Yeah, for sure. He said because they melted them for jewelry and stuff like that.
I thought he said they were going to do that, but they didn't. Okay.
But then he said somebody came in with a bag full of coins. I'm imagining a big thing like this.
Right. Okay. All right.
Well, if it was a bag full of coins, it had to be more than just 5, right?
And that's what I was thinking. That's why.
All right.
That's
So
what
we
got me
screwed
all
up, but now we're back on track. Okay. So now to recap again. Whately came into town with gold from his family, probably from the dirty pirates that his whole family is, and he took them to first he went to have the commissioned statue. Okay, so therefore first he took pictures of the statue. Then he went to Yolanda's, commissioned them. Then he pawned the coins. Then he bought the books and the painting and spread the money around at the coffee shop. Then he was murdered with the prostitute. Okay.
The thing that you're leaving out of the timeline is also picking up the statues.
Right. Yeah, at some point he picked them up, took them back to his hotel room, and chose the one that was going to work for him. Now, a man with that kind of cash in his pocket, just having that much money in your pocket and spending it and throwing it around is going to attract thieves' attentions too. That's kind of why I was saying, how well do you know this Santos? Rich guy comes in, starts buying everybody food and beverage, maybe, and then Santos claims to have not only seen the body, but the so-called paw prints. Could Santos have been the murderer? Whacked him over the head for the money. Did he have any cash in his pocket when he was found? We did go to the morgue.
Interesting question.
So I'm trying to remember. So he had breakfast with Santos, right? Or he seen him in that cafe.
Well, you would know that he was frequenting the cafe.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
We had the receipts.
And then when he had the money, he started buying everybody in the shop.
Yeah. So he was flush with cash, right? So you know that he was. You don't know if he was having breakfast at Santos, but he was a patron at Santos's shop. That's where he was. It seemed to be where he was having his morning coffee every day.
And we found 2 receipts. There may have been more. We just only found 2. But Santos would have known that he had money. Santos said that he saw the body and he saw the cat print. And Well, everybody knows about the murder, obviously, because it happened right down from there.
Because keep in mind that the murder occurred right outside of,
Right.
or that the attack happened right outside in the alley next to the shadow or the brew, the Den and Dark Brew's coffee house, which is also where Santos presumably lives.
So we still aren't 100% sure who took all the photos and developed them, and we still think that Santos is potentially holding back some information. So I think
he's involved somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, the photos, do they have some kind of maker's mark on them?
No.
Because I know, like, when you take Kodaks, they'll have Kodak at the back of them.
I don't know that they did any of that yet.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if they would have, then
kind of insignia.
They would. I mean, you know probably what camera was used to take the photos, right?
Well, we got it. Yeah, the flash camera.
Well, we assume.
You assume.
Well, certainly, yeah, I don't know. A developer back in those days would have seen the photo that was that came as a result of the development, right? Unless he somehow developed them themselves. So we could
look at them. They just look like a blurry picture of a statue,
right? So, but I don't know. Even if we found the photographer, how much would that give us realistically?
He wouldn't have seen any more than we saw,
right? I mean, both the shop owner and the pawn shop, or the vase owner and the pawn shop owner, didn't have many details. He wasn't sharing much. So,
is there
anybody got photography?
Is there anyone that we could check with to see if they could identify the statue, like some historian at the university,
or an anthropologist
maybe,
or even, and this sounds a little bit crude, but hunt down the brothel, or where he got the girl from.
Well, we know the street. We know where they are. We think they were just streetwalkers.
Oh,
no, he was flashing money around. I mean, nobody follows money like a prostitute.
And
I don't know if you guys picked up on this. We were kind of going through, and I apologize if there was confusion about the sequence of events that came out of the conversation at the pawn shop. At some point there, I did mention that he said that when he had asked him what all the money was for, he said, "I got a date with a special girl."
You got a date, yeah.
Yeah. So
now there definitely ain't no $700 prostitutes in the French Quarter.
You never know.
A special girl might be statue number 5.
Or it could legitimately be, as Rose had pointed out earlier, somebody else as part of his cult, or somebody he was trying to impress or needed for his ritual. Or
I mean, he's flashing money around. Who does he attract to him? A prostitute and a starving poet.
He had breakfast with somebody. He bought a bunch of people food. That had to attract some attention.
Well, let's go back once again to the situation. We had 4 people, 2 men, 2 women. Mordecai was one of them. And they were all killed. And he was either crawled or dragged down the street where he was eviscerated. And so was he together with the other 3 when they were attacked? And so if it was like if it was like a pimp, then why would he kill the prostitutes? That doesn't make any sense.
So maybe the key is more around those other folks. I mean, we know 2 of them were streetwalkers, but what about the guy? What were the details surrounding the other gentleman?
Andrew MacDonald was just kind of a local bohemian poet. I think
right.
Rose might have known him or seen him.
I'd heard of him at the very least.
Yeah. I think maybe we should at least talk to LaGrasse and tell him what we found so far. Maybe he'll have some insight. What do you think?
Yeah.
We don't have much else to go on right now. So.
Well, the only thing I can think of is that statue. If we can identify what statue, let's say like you mentioned, the anthropology professor at Tulane. If he looks at it, he says, "Oh yeah, that's a ancient Syrian statue," and then hopefully he says, "My cousin Bruce has one on the top shelf of his."
Well, yeah, let's
We'll
bring
know
Zach.
exactly where to go.
Yeah, let's go back to LaGrasse.
I'm gonna go to LaGrasse. See if we can. John Jerry, can you get a hold of him?
Yeah, definitely.
So let's say if you can if you call, find a phone, call him. He'll tell you to come over. He'll give you his address.
Okay, so we'll go over. I don't think we've been at his house before. No.
Oh, Inspector LaGrasse.
Yeah, it's a pretty modest house. There's a woman who answers the door who introduces herself as Mrs. LaGrasse, and then she says, I'll bring some coffee," and then he'll bring you all into shake your hands and bring you into kind of his office.
So once we sit down with him, we basically go over everything that we've found, and we're not sure. We've got a lot of cold leads. We're not sure.
How do you want to, I guess you'll just trace the sequence of events just like you laid it out?
Right. Yeah, I don't want to have to go over the whole thing again for the sake of the show. But yeah, we basically tell him all of our suspicions and everything. But we've come to a lot of dead ends, or at least ends that we have no idea. Does he know anything about this Santos Hernandez? Has he ever been in trouble with the law before, or?
Well, Santos is, a big part of French Quarter business. As you're going through everything, and you also have the statue with you.
Sure.
And do you have the books, or did you tell him about the books, or?
We didn't bring the books. I don't think we wouldn't be walking around with those in our hands. But we of course told him about them. Yeah.
So he's definitely very interested to hear
the photographs as well,
and the photos. He's definitely very interested to hear everything you have to say. He's actually takes out a notebook and starts taking notes, so you can kind of see his detective wheels turning. John Jerry, you still have like a little bit of celebrity admiration for this guy, and when you mention the books, he thinks for a second. He says, books like that are very dangerous. The work of the Green Crescent oftentimes encounters books like these, and it's important that they're cataloged and that they're understood. But you have to be cautious about reading. Actually sitting down and trying to fully comprehend them, because it just takes you down a dark road, basically. He asks if you have the books with you, and you say you don't. Then he inspects the statue for a while, and he says, "This is the replica?"
Yes. And we have photographs of the original, I suppose, but we don't know where they're from.
And there's a fifth one that we don't know where it is.
The fifth one is the one that's missing.
Yeah, he examines the statue for a while and says it's very interesting, and asks if you wouldn't mind to leave it with him.
Sure.
He'll actually show you some photos. Like he'll unlock he has a key on him, and he unlocks his desk drawer, and he'll actually show you some photos. He has like a photo book, and there's pictures of just old timey pictures, because these are from about 20 years ago, of some of the people that they arrested and some of the scene of the crime, essentially out at the in the swamps where they had their big bust. There is actually a picture of what he calls the Cthulhu idol. Which is just terrifying to look at, even in a blurry photo. He says, "What's your theory on Hernandez?"
I don't know. Just Something about him make me feel like he was involved in some way.
It's hard to say. He's been quite the pillar of the community for a long time, and it just seems all too coincidence that this Waitley was spending so much time around him in his shop, and he wouldn't know more, be more forthcoming.
His
He
behavior
seemed-
was kind of strange.
He seemed very
disappearing like
anti-Vice.
Well, it would be quite the coincidence that all the deaths occurred right outside of his business and home.
It seemed like he was very anti-Vice, and these were prostitutes. Waitley may have just been visiting a prostitute, and he seemed to have said that he saw the body, seen it first, that he saw the lion tracks, mountain lion, or whatever you call it, cougar.
Is it possible that anybody else close to Santiago would be able to answer more about, his relationship with Waitley, or if he knew him, or if they saw him together, or another shop employee, or something of that nature? Anything we know like that?
Perhaps. Maybe you should maybe keep an eye on Hernandez. Check out the shop. See who's coming and going.
That's probably a good idea.
That is a good idea.
And have you ever heard of a place called the Shadow Stacks?
The Shadow Stacks. There's that's the place where the books came from.
The books and the painting.
There's been talk of a secret establishment in the French Quarter that trucks in the types of things that our group takes interest in. So far, no one has been able to verify the rumor. Maybe the Shadow Stacks is it.
We're trying to find a way to get ourselves invited.
It could be a very valuable resource if they have more of these kind of books like the ones you've already procured.
Is there a way we
Mr.
can get into?
Delaney.
Should we bring Mr. Leon de Marigny in on this?
Monsieur de Marigny is presently, shall we say, involved in his own investigations.
Well, we'll continue to do as best we can.
Okay, so I think I want to take LaGrosse's advice and stake out.
Santos.
Shop. Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. See who comes and who goes.
So what's LaGrasse says, keep me informed. He says, call me first before you ever drop by. Mrs. LaGrasse can be sensitive to too many strange visitors, if you know what I mean.
Of course.
Okay.
So I guess we leave. Well,
Yeah,
gentlemen,
so
where to now?
What's your game plan?
Well, describe. We know where the Denodoc Brews is. What's around it? Place where we could hang out. Keep
Yeah,
an
it's
eye.
it's on Bourbon Street, so there's a number of speakeasies. There's restaurants. There's some shops. There's like touristy voodoo shops. There's shops like Miss Martinez, the shop. But Bourbon Street's pretty lively. There's a lot of carousing and drinking that goes on there. But it's also residential. And the brew is kind of at one far end of the French Quarter. Down Bourbon Street one way is more vicey, once you get down to the other end, it actually turns into houses and is residential when you get closer to the Marigny, like where you go across Esplanade Avenue and where the Boisseaux live and everything, kind of entering. It's closer to the Marigny side of the French Quarter. The brew is kind of right in the middle. It's not quite in the residential area. It's not quite like the super heavy, debauchery side. It's kind of somewhere in the middle.
Is there a place across the street? This is a long shot. A place across the street where we could rent a room and sit with binoculars in the shot, just peeking out through the things and see right into his shop.
There's no like boarding house across the street or anything like that. Across the street, there's a restaurant.
All right.
You could table at the restaurant. You could hang out in your car overnight. You could not really a place to like set up an Ocean's 11 style surveillance office.
Yeah, I'll try the restaurant. Just hang out and maybe spend a couple hours there and just kind of casually take notes and pretend to work on a crossword puzzle, I guess. I don't know what you do for 8 hours in a restaurant.
Well, we could also hide in a car and put towels up as if we were not there and just, let people think, well, it's got towels in his car to keep the sun out. But we leave a little peek through so that we could watch.
We could split up too. I mean, we can.
Right.
We could. Some of us can go into the restaurant. Some of us can do the car.
And Alicia, you and I can go around to different bookstores and throw out fishing lines.
That and like pretend to do some window shopping, stuff like that. But stay in the general area, and if we do see him leave, we can sort of tail him, but sort of in a mild way. Whereas like we're just having a walk about town. And if he does recognize us, we can do the flirt thing and see, get a bit of information that way. Maybe even take him out.
If there was a way
dinner at the restaurant.
As if there was a way to get into his upstairs without him knowing about it.
Well,
if we take him out to dinner.
Yeah, then that leaves room for you guys to
sneak in.
Fishing. Yeah.
He seemed to keep it pretty well locked up, though.
Well,
we'd have to climb up the outside, get up there.
Around daylight?
Oh, in the middle of the night. Well,
yeah, I was going to say. And wait a minute, we're not taking him out to dinner in the middle of the night.
Well, he's a man who doesn't go in for much vice, so
true.
Might have a little trouble there.
True.
Well, let's try it tonight. Let's stake the place out. Let's see what we can see. Keep our heads low, change our clothes, put on some.
And if he decides to go out, we can follow him and see where he's going.
Put on something dark. Stand in the shadows.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Well, the brew closes at 6:00.
That early? Wow.
In the restaurant or in the coffee shop.
You broke up there for a second.
Okay. So you see people coming and going, just customers out of the coffee shop, people coming out with with coffee cups that are just like hanging out in front of the place. And there's like somebody that you see walk in with about 5:00 that walks in with a violin. But Rose and Alicia, maybe Remy, you would know that there's like performers typically in the 5:00 hour before the place closes down that do poetry or music or whatever, bohemian stuff. Remy, if you're across the street at right about 6 o'clock, you would see Santos come to the door. He's shaking hands with a couple of people who are leaving and smiling and thanking people for coming in. And then the door closes, and he kind of like looks out the window, and then he drops the blinds on the front door, flips the sign around to say closed, and now the shop is closed.
We shortly after that see the lights go on upstairs.
Once it gets dark, you would see the lights go on upstairs, which is probably a couple hours later. The restaurant that you're in is open late, probably to about 11 o'clock. And what you see around 11 o'clock as the place that you are in is starting to close is actually the door opens again, and you see a very large African-American man. It's probably one of the biggest guys you've ever seen. He's well over 6 feet tall. It kind of looks like Marcellus Wallace from Pulp Fiction. He's got like shaved head and is just wearing like an impeccable suit, but really, really big. So he comes and he opens the door and he kind of like looks around. And then
we see this in Santos's shop?
Yeah.
So he opens the door and looks out and looks around and he goes back in.
Yep.
Where'd he come from?
And now we're at, a little after 11 p.m.
Okay.
And all he did was kind of peek out the door, look around, and then close.
Yeah.
All right. I think that it's probably fairly dark on the street.
Fairly dark on the street. Yeah, there's some foot traffic, kind of like sailors or just the typical like speakeasy night crowd that are walking around carousing. This is, like I said, not quite the super raucous side of Bourbon Street and not the residential where things would be pretty quiet, but there's like a little bit of foot traffic. Again, carousing for lack of a better term.
Is there a back alley that heads behind Santos's shop?
Well, there was the alley where the bodies were found.
Right.
Presumably that would go to the next street over. The way that the blocks are set up in the French Quarter are, you've got like these buildings that have kind of the businesses on the bottom floor, kind of European style. A lot of times residences are up above them, and then in the middle of the block there's a courtyard that you can't really see from the street unless there's like an open, like a wrought iron gate or something like that. You might see into the middle of the property, and there might be a courtyard with a fountain. It's all very European as far as the layout and architecture goes.
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of trying to find a back way in or a back window or something I can look in.
A way we can spy on what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, if you're looking down the alley in particular, you would look like the alley would go to the next street behind Bourbon Street. There are windows, and one thing you notice that you didn't notice before, now that you're kind of scrutinizing it, is the windows that are in Santos's place are actually blacked out. The side windows that would look into the alley.
Very interesting.
It's odd. Well, I guess at this point, so are we all together? I know.
And also the windows are closed. A lot of the upstairs windows would be typically open just because it's so hot to let breeze through. But you see that the windows are closed and they're painted black.
And I got are they? Well, can I tell from here? Are they painted black on the outside?
Can't tell.
Because I suppose you could go up there very quietly and scratch off a little of the paint and peek through.
Well, you just see that there's no light coming through them really. If you're looking from the street side, you see maybe light that's might be coming through the window, even though there's curtains, you can't really see inside if you're looking up to the second floor. On the side, there's windows on the second floor, not you're not. There's no fire escape. You can't peek through it. You can't see it, but you notice there's no light at all coming through it. So it would appear to be blacked out in some fashion.
Are there any windows within reach on the first floor that I could, maybe just pry open a bit? I guess what I'm asking is, are they in reach if I wanted to do that?
Not from the alley, no.
Okay.
The only windows that you would see on the first floor would look into the coffee shop.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that we're going to get much out of that.
Now, are you guys lurking around the alley at this point? Trying to looking at that stuff?
We're moving in that direction. We're trying to figure out some way we can find out what's going on in there without a
Can we
track.
break into the coffee shop?
Now, as you guys are in the alley, you actually see there's a few people that walk up kind of from the block over.
Yeah, we pretend
And
like
they're in suits. And they knock on the coffee shop door.
Really?
You hear the door. Now, as they walk by, they're in suits. You can, you're positioned in the alley on the side of the building, so you would be able to see that or hear that they're knocking on that door. What do you guys do?
Well, if we see them and they see us, we just pretend like we're partiers we're kind of giggling to ourselves. But once they've passed us, we kind of peek around to see where they're going. You
can hear the door of the coffee shop open. You hear some voices, and then you hear the door close.
I look at the others. I'm like, they having like a church meeting?
Were we able to make out what was said?
Not at this point, because it was so unexpected. And you guys kind of went into like a mode of like, oh, we're just back here maybe throwing up because we're drunk.
Okay. And no.
At this point, it's about 11:30 p.m.
Okay.
It's late for church service. Were these? So was there anything unusual? Well, you said they were in suits, so they were men.
It appeared to be 3 men. Now again, it was kind of sudden. It's not super well lit, but you could tell that it was, about 3 people that were well dressed.
Should we spread out?
Did they look like they were trying to conceal themselves as they were going in, or did they just walk up, kind of like they owned the place?
Well, it's kind of.
Yeah, did they have their collars, flipped up and seem kind of shady, or did they just seem normal?
Make a spot hidden roll. We'll do a retroactive spot hidden.
Okay. Sorry. Give me 1 second.
My 45 is good.
I got a 21. 21 out of 65. So that is a hard.
Okay. So here's what I'll tell you. Now you guys are just kind of sort of searching the alley in a way to see if there's any point of ingress, right? It wouldn't be super uncommon to see people walking by because it's not a deserted part of the street. But then what caught your attention is oh, these people are here. And that happened when you heard them knock on the door. So from what you observed, they didn't seem to be skulking. They seemed to be well-dressed. But you since you're in the alley, you might not have had a very clear view of the front door.
Okay.
If you had been still across the street, looking directly across, you would have had a better view. But they seem to be not sneaking, just
right. They were just going. They were going somewhere.
Yeah.
They were going to the coffee shop. Let's. Well, I for one.
Why don't we try our luck with the knocking?
Go up and
I
knock
don't
on the
think
door.
That's a good idea at all.
Yeah.
What business?
What are they going to do? Kill us on the spot?
Possibly.
I don't know.
John Deere, you go first.
Summon up the ghosts of Christmas past to destroy us all.
Or
I mean,
pirate ghosts.
Santos knows me, so that would burn any line of further inquiry. I mean, he'd be onto us at that
Yeah,
point.
I don't think knocking at the door
We
was.
need to find a way to peek in there and see what's going on. Why don't we? We're so many of us. Somebody needs to
The
position
question
themselves.
is the coffee shop now lit? Like, did they turn on the lights there, or is it still dark and as if it's closed?
Yeah, because when you saw Santos close shop, he dropped the blinds.
But we should still see some sort of light peeking through the blinds.
We
I
don't.
would think.
It's not all lit up.
Okay.
There might be
Fair enough.
there's a little bit of light, but it's not all lit up like it's open for business.
Somebody needs to
Right. I
position.
was just wondering if they were down in the diner itself, or did they go into a back room, or maybe upstairs? Because if they're in the coffee shop, perhaps there's a way that we can listen, maybe get a can or a cup or something like that, and put it up to the door.
And none of us locals recognize the very large man at the door, right? I mean, he would have been pretty unmistakable. So we've never seen him before around
Right.
town.
Which also means he's
You
never
would
met.
remember this guy for sure.
One of us needs to position himself so that if somebody else arrives and they open the door, you'll be able to see from across the street into the door. You know what I mean? Yes, it opens.
I thought we were in the alley behind the copy shop.
We are. Somebody needs to reposition themselves.
Oh, okay.
I'll do it.
You're on the side of the coffee shop.
Well, you guys continue searching, and I'm going to go stand across the street in the shadows, but in such a place where when the door opens, I'm looking right into the door. So I can see if there's like a gathering of people in there or candles lit or something like that.
Okay. So we're just going to kind of wait it out and see if anybody else shows up.
Well, and see if you can find a way to peek in.
Okay. I guess I'll keep casing the building on the outside and seeing if there's.
Can you
Yes,
go
I-
all the way around the building, or do you end up going down an alley and you got to go all the way to the end to come back?
I was going to say, can one of us go one way, one of us go the other way, sort of thing?
Yeah, so there's pretty much. I mean, you can pretty much get a panorama of the street. There's nothing stopping you. If you wanted to kind of spread out. I mean,
Okay, so we're kind of spreading out.
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be like uncommon just to, I mean, there's people passed out sleeping on the street at different points on Bourbon Street. So, it's not like super conspicuous. So you do that. It takes a while. I would say it's probably like an hour later. You actually see a limousine pull up to the front of the place. And it's a 1920s limousine. So if you imagine like what cars look like in the 20s, just a longer version of that.
Right. So I'm right across the street in the shadows. Kurt is doing his terrifying
Stealth roll.
faceless look. I'm sorry, you went gone for a while.
Okay. So limousine.
Yeah. No,
Yep.
we heard that. I'm across the street watching. What do I see?
Why don't you make a stealth roll? Let's see if you are able to remain unseen.
What is my stealth? It's probably not very good. It's not very good. I got an 09 out of 20.
Wow. Okay.
I'm
So-
standing in the shoulders with my hat down. And
Yeah, you're Batman at this point. So the driver gets out of the limousine, opens up the side door, and a couple get out, a man and a woman, and they are dressed just to the nines. And more interestingly, they've got on like masks, like Venetian carnival masks, not like It's like kind of carnival masks.
Like in the picture.
They are they're dressed all in like very nice black. Like she's got on like a ball gown almost, like a kind of like I guess a cocktail dress or something like that. And they're both wearing like kind of. They're not. It's not like in the picture. It's not really like it's like an animal mask, like which was in the picture. It's more stylized, like you see at like a rich person's masquerade or something like that. So they go around. The car pulls off as they walk up to the door. They knock. You see the man open the door that you saw earlier. There's an exchange of words, and they walk in. Now make a listen roll, and it would need to be a hard roll.
Give it a shot.
Me or everybody?
Is anybody close enough to where you could actually hear what just happened with a? If you're a block away.
Are you kind of hanging around a street corner just smoking? Just looking sultry?
I got a 000, so I didn't hear anything. However, did I see in the
I got
in the
a
door when it opened?
40 out of 83. So that's a hard for me.
You were standing on the corner smoking?
Yeah, just
Right, so we could
looking
say you were
sultry
on
and sexy like you do in Bourbon Street.
Okay. So we could say that you were kind of on the other side of the alley, standing there smoking, maybe posturing as a lady of the night, maybe as a reason that you were on the corner. What you actually hear, and Leon, when the door opens, you do see a little bit of light that comes out. You reckon it is dark. The lights are not on. There are some candles lit, and you recognize the man, the large man who you saw come to the door earlier. He opens the door. Rose, you hear one word spoken: arsenic.
Arsenic.
And they walk in and the door closes.
Interesting.
Okay. So I wonder if we should all fit ourselves up with some masks.
Dangerous game if it's a club and they know the members.
Well, what do we do that's not dangerous?
It is
Smoking?
dangerous, but we will be able to get information that way, but you're right.
We just like
Are you guys kind of regrouping? Are you all still watching?
We're all still watching. We're musing to ourselves, I think.
Okay. A little while later, another man comes in the door. This time, this guy is kind of dressed much more plain. He is not in a suit. He does not have a mask on. He knocks. Same thing happens. Guy opens the door. Exchange of words. He goes in.
Do I hear this one
Now-
too, or do we need to make another?
You make another listen roll. Again, it would have to be a hard roll.
Of course, now she
Yeah,
knows
30.
Okay.
Yeah.
You hear the
definitely
same.
hard. Arsenic.
This time you actually hear, whereas before the people just said it. This time the guy said, "I'm here to buy," and the guy said, "What's the word?" And this time he said arsenic. And he went in. He was not wearing a mask. A little while later, the first three people that you saw go in come out. Two of them are holding shopping bag, like a bag, and each of them have a bag. It is. You can notice again. It is three men in suits. They are not wearing masks. At this point, it's pushing 1 a.m.
Do we recognize any of them?
Make a spot hidden. It is pretty dark at this point. There's not a whole lot of street light.
I don't think that's a pass on that. No, it's not a pass. It's too dark.
Yeah, faceless men.
So I'm thinking we should regroup because we know things now.
I think we need to wait until all the activity seems to stop. You know what I mean? Otherwise, well,
Well, I mean, we can at least pass the word amongst ourselves. The word is arsenic.
he had a symbol on his arm, arsenic. This is some sort of a club.
I wonder if we shouldn't try and draw that on ourselves.
Those things are possible. They're scary as hell. What happens if this is the Shadow Stacks and you've been invited, but it's not like they invite 500 people. They just invite a few people. They'll know whether they invited you or not.
Are the 3 individuals with the bags, are they already gone? They took off.
They were walking down the street.
Is there any way to tail them? I mean,
Sure. You want to do that?
yeah, I think I'm gonna kind of, I don't know, not all that sneaky, but
So we
try.
should be following along behind him. It's dark, you know. You just
Yeah.
stay in the
It's
shadows.
dark.
just
There are
look
drunks
at them.
everywhere. You can
Yeah.
make your way through.
Yeah, I'm gonna tail them.
Okay.
See where they go.
Okay. Are all of you going, or?
No, I'm going to see if I can see the license plate on that limo.
Okay. The limo pulled away,
It
so it's
did.
currently not there. Yep. So if you follow the guides, they'll actually walk to like farther down Bourbon Street, walk into a different part of the French Quarter, and go into a hotel.
Okay. I'll just kind of take note of the name of the hotel if I can, and then maybe just take a peek inside the lobby.
Okay. The hotel is called the Hotel Conti. It's on Conti Street, close to where you visited the Musée Conti, which was the wax museum.
Okay.
Nice
And,
hotel. Very nice hotel.
When I peek into the lobby, is it? I'm sure the guys are already gone, but you know, is it kind of what you'd expect? It's a nicer, more upscale kind of establishment.
Yeah. People maybe come into town for tourists or coming for business maybe.
Okay. All right. I
It's
guess I'll
nice.
leave it. I'll leave it there and kind of head back to meet back up with my companions.
Well, it would be risky, but we have to figure out what's going on in there. I don't know enough about weird rare books to say anything. I couldn't hold a conversation.
Does the professor look like he might pass off as like my bodyguard? No.
I look like a grown-up kid.
Okay.
He looks like White Urkel.
Steve or Stefan?
That depends on the time of day. He's Stephen in the streets and Stefan in the sheets.
Oh. Rare.
All right. At this point, nobody else has come out yet, and it is pushing 2 a.m.
I actually realized too that we can't.
See Remy make it back, and he walks across the street.
We can't really discuss with one another. So if somebody wants
We can talk quietly in the alley.
But we're not near each other. I'm just saying that if somebody wants to make a move, they could just do it. Don't let me talk you out of it.
No, but I mean, people mill around, right? There are drunks passed out. People walking.
2 a.m, by now they're passed.
We can pass each other. Just quietly say, the word is arsenic.
Okay. So you do that.
I'm staying across the street in the shadows.
I'm inclined to run to the speakeasy and grab a mask. And then run back and arsenic my way in.
That man didn't have a mask. Only the rich people had masks, right?
Well,
don't we want to appear rich?
the people that came out of the limousine had masks.
Right, they're the rich people. Everybody else hasn't had masks.
Well, let's see. We've been met by Santos before, so he would know our faces.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Masks might be what we need.
The masks are for the people who don't want people to know who they are.
Yeah, that will be us.
They don't want to be considered, I don't know. Do what you want. Don't. I can't stop you.
What are you thinking, Alicia? Based on what you've seen.
I'm not sure.
Alicia has masks.
I'm curious about what's going on inside, but one, it's kind of late, and I've been up all day, so I might not be at my sharpest. And two, we're already. I don't know. It just seems like right now there's something strange going on here. I don't want to burst in there under false pretenses, and then we get caught by these people. We don't know what's going on there. I don't know. I'm new to this, so I'll go with what the group goes with. But I'm a bit apprehensive right now.
Well, should we call it for the night and then just try again tomorrow?
Probably. We don't seem to be doing anything. Alicia probably has masks in her shop.
Are you guys going to regroup at the shop or Remy's place?
Why don't we go back to the shop? I don't know.
Sean, Jerry,
I know for myself, in being in show business, I will have plenty of makeup experience. And I even got disguise, I think. Yeah, I got some disguise.
John Jerry, what are you thinking?
John Jerry, as much as he wants to go in, but just, I don't know, he's sort of thinking that, I don't know, it only takes one thing going wrong. Like he could try to get, more advice on this from LaGrosse later on.
Would it be possible to get a warrant?
But that's what I'm thinking. Like John Jerry's instinct, he wants to go in right now, and he's going to say deal with stuff.
We haven't seen anything illegal done yet.
Yeah, exactly. So if we make one wrong move, it's just going to be kind of a shitstorm, legal wise. So what I'm thinking, maybe tomorrow, if I could talk to LaGrosse. And
LaGrosse hasn't done jack for us. He's down on the sideline saying, "Do this yourself."
You're a cop, right?
Yeah. Okay. So what I can do is check with the state. I can check with my supervisor. Try to get a warrant, and I've got to try to.
You're going to have a reason for a warrant. And
exactly.
Give you a reason. I was going to suggest you're a cop. You're walking down Bourbon Street, and you notice that that there's light peeking out through the cracks in there. You might knock. It's like, is anything going on in there? Maybe there's robbers in there.
Okay, is this building supposed to?
They're supposed to be closed. At 6.
Or you could always see you got an anonymous tip.
Yeah. Okay, so this building's supposed to be closed at
6.
Okay. Okay, well, do you know what? Why not? Okay, so we've watched people go in, everything like that. Well, do you know what? I'm going to take a walk by. I was going to say, Professor, do you want to stay about 5-6 feet behind me here? Are there people still going in now, or is it, has it kind of stopped?
Nobody else has come out yet.
Okay. Okay, so do you know what? I'm going to take a walk by, look around, and give a knock on the door.
Okay.
Just a friendly
so-
check to make sure nobody's robbing the place.
Mm-hmm.
So the door opens. The man you saw earlier says, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Detective John Jerry here. Just going for a walk and realized what's going on in this building here. This is supposed to be closed earlier on in the day. So, I heard from a couple kids down who were walking around saying that something was going on in here. I was going to say, as a detective, I'm always on duty, and just for the safety of the community, what's going on here? So,
nothing going on here, sir. Mr. Hernandez having a private party.
okay, so he's the owner of the building, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Sure do appreciate you keeping the community safe, detective.
Okay. Now, is this a normal thing to have a party after 6 or all the time, or is this just a one-shot thing? So.
Just Mr. Hernandez entertaining guests.
Okay.
There's no noise. We don't have any bands playing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. What was your name again, sir?
You can call me Juan.
Juan? Okay, well, thank you, Juan. I appreciate it. And as I said, just looking out for the citizens of our city here, and just making sure. I was going to say, making sure nobody's breaking in and destroying his property and stuff. So I was going to say thank you, Juan, and I was going to say enjoy the rest of the evening. So.
Yeah. Well, sure do appreciate you keeping eyes on everything.
Okay, so after that, I turned back around the same direction as the professor. I tell him I was going to say, I tell him Juan's name. I know it.
Look inside.
Sorry?
Did you get a look inside?
I couldn't really see. And what did they say? If they say the owner of the building is, was in there. I don't know, what can I do? Can I call and think that there's a fire? Like, can I?
No, you can't lie about these things because there's no fire.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, we know something.
Santos is in there selling cupcakes, and
yeah,
we're all making something out of it that's not happening. Of course, I don't believe that for a minute. Santos is upstairs having an orgy with all those people. About how many people have we seen in total going in?
Well, if you saw everything, there was the group that came in when you guys were in the alley.
Right.
There was the limousine. A man and a woman couple came out the limousine, and there was one more man dressed more plainly went in.
I wonder if there's a way you can find out who those men in the hotel are, John.
Now, a little while later, as you guys are kind of putting this back together, you do see the limousine come back.
Okay.
That
license plate.
It stops on the street. Yep, it has a license plate. You can write it down. And then the door opens again, and you see Juan said, "You have a great evening. Come back and see us again." And then you hear a woman say, "Oh, we will." And you notice it's like a kind of a thick European accent. And they say, "We'll be back." And they get into the car and leave. It's still the man and woman in there. They're still wearing the mask.
All right.
They get in a limousine. It pulls away.
Well, let's head for home and plan our next foray into the unknown. And John Jerry, can you trace that license plate?
I will do my best.
All right. So it's
I'll go down to the station in the morning. So.
Cool. Well, why don't we call it for the night then, and we'll pick up next week.
You have enough for next week? Cool.
Yep.
All right. Our players included Joshua Hook, Tim Smeltzer, Wayne Worthy, Greg Malcolm, and myself, with Kurt LeBlanc as Keeper of the Secrets. Our music, the music we're using for this campaign is "Save My Soul" by Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. They're kind enough to let us use their music. I've put a link to their YouTube channel in the description below. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows, free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month will help us a lot. We actually have a new patron, one of our regular players, Jeff Beck, has donated $15 a month. Thank you very much, Jeff. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We love hearing from you. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure to the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good game.
New Orleans is where I can go to save my soul. New Orleans, New Orleans is where I can go to save my soul.